Today we're going to create the bakery sign using Vectr. Down here I have opened up a document and I have one layer. The layer I have is the image that I put up here to reference while I work on this document to show you how to do it. This creates the dimensions down here, and it's being done in pixels because you're going to need to work with pixels when you're up here working with the borders. Otherwise, it's going to be too big. So if you want it to be bigger, you just kind of keep clicking right here and making it go up in size, and you can see that the actual image right there is getting bigger. That's what it's measuring down here, is that size. If I take the corner and I shrink it, you can see that the numbers then down there shrink. So until I put something in here, I really can't make it bigger or smaller. So the very first thing that you're going to do is you are going to fill the background with a color. Now you can choose what color you want to use. I happen to have chosen a bluish color, but then I also chose linear gradient. When you choose linear gradient, immediately it will turn to black and gray. So you have to open it up, and by clicking on the color box there next to the phrase linear gradient, and you have to click the blue icon and click on there. So what it's showing you right now is that the bottom of the gradient is black and the top of the gradient is this blue. If I would like to change that, I need to click on here, and then I click on the color that I want it to be, and then I need to click on here and click on the color that I want it to be. Maybe I don't want it to change that much. Maybe I want this to be a little bit bluer. Actually, in the one that I showed you, I made it green, and then I added an extra dot in the middle and I made that color yellow. Not a real big fan of that. I think nope. If you pull that down, what it does, can you see how when I'm moving it around, what it does is it changes the proportion of where that color is, and the dot actually gets bigger. But if I pull it back down, I've got more of that. And if I wanted to, I could pull this down. I could pull that back up. And or if I just want to eliminate it, I could delete. And it takes away the entire thing. So replacing my square, filling it with blue. And then I go to color. I go to linear gradation. I choose the blue color. And I choose this blue. Well, I think I'll go with it way up here. And then actually I'll click on this one and I'll choose it to be the bluish color here. And then I'll click on this one and I'll choose for it to be a greenish color right here. And then I'm done. Now the next step is I want you to put in a rectangle that is a particular size, but I want it to just be a square rectangle because it's going to be the back of the sign of the bakery sign. So you're going to start to pull that across, and when you pull that rectangle across, when you let go, you're going to see what the dimensions are down here. So let's make this an even amount, and let's call it 600. Hit enter, and now it takes me back to that. Let's just bring it up to an even number. We'll call it, see how it keeps getting bigger? You can do that one of two ways. You can either grab a corner like this, and you can change it size-wise, and it'll change it down there. I don't believe that you can enter in amounts down below. So anyhow, now you have your square. You can leave it there. I changed the color of the square to an orange, kind of a more muted orange. Down here it shows the color number. That's kind of important, and it will be important later. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put on, I want to move that to the front so you can see it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put on the yellow rounded rectangle. So you go to the rounded rectangle tool, And I just made that slightly smaller. Oh, the important thing to remember is I have set up my screen so that it will show my grids. So up here, if you click on that box, you want it to snap. And that's what those blue lines are that show up when I'm working. So make sure you have that checked. So make sure I have that checked. And now I can move this around and see how it shows a blue line. Kind of helps me know that I've got it in the center there. Lets me know that I've lined it up with the edge of that. But I've got my rounded rectangle. Now, if I'd like to change the corners of this rounded rectangle, I double click on a corner and it brings in these little little dots, and I can pull those in and I can change the roundness of my rectangle. So go ahead and do that if you want. Change it up a little bit. See if you can keep it pretty even. And there we go. Looks pretty good all around. Oh, this one looks a little bit smaller than the other one. Or there we go. Let's see. And this one to me looks a little bit too rounded out. And so now I've got my rounded rectangle. The next step then will be to add in the words "the bakery." So you're going to click on the text tool, bring it over here and put it there, and you're going to type in capital THE space BAKERY, the bakery. And it's going to come up in whatever the last color was that you chose. So now highlight that whole amount by holding down the right click key. And let me think about this one for a second. I just want to make sure I'm on my text layer. That's what you have to do. You have to make sure that you've got the text layer over here highlighted so you know that you're on that layer. And then it brings out these two white dots on either corner. And all I have to do is stretch it. And it will stretch it, make it longer or make it skinnier. But the text is what the text is. Now, if I choose to change the text, it's up here as my choice. So I chose Oleo script. Looks pretty nice. And the other one, I chose a different script. You choose whatever script you want. And then I turned it black. And I believe, I'll have to get this a little bit bigger. I believe I gave it a drop shadow. So we will look at that in a minute. So now here we are. We've got the bakery. I've selected it. And now I have down here a shadow. So I can choose to put a 1 pixel shadow on it. I can have that offset the X way. I could have it offset the Y way. I can have it blur. And it all changes it and makes it look a different way. So if you want to play around with that, and then you can change the color of the shadow as well. If you wanted to go with a reddish color, you could. You choose. Just gives it a little bit more of a distance from the background. Now I added a secondary text in there to show that the bakery was established. And I just picked a random year, 1896. And it's still using the same text and the same color, but I've decided that I want that text to be a different color. So I am going to, nope, that looks terrible. I'm going to go with the blue. And then I'm also going to make that a little bit bigger so you can see it better. All right, so the top part of my bakery sign is done. Well, now I want everybody to know that I serve muffins at this bakery. So I need to make the muffin shapes. So how do I go about doing that? Well, I will take my pen tool here and click on it, and I will click once, and then I'll click again over here and bring it down, and then click across, and then come back up. And that is approximately a muffin shape, muffin cup shape. Right now, the border is being shown as black. I would like that border changed to yellow. So now you can see it as yellow, and I would like it to be about a 3 pixel border so it shows up better. And I would like the color of the muffin tin to be brown, of which you can find that right about there. Let's go with that one. Okay, now you'll notice that on my picture, there's little yellow lines in the middle too. Well, the way that I accomplished those was by taking the pen tool again, and I started here, and I drew down to here, and then I came across a little bit, and then I drew back up to here, went across a little bit, clicked, down, click, across, click, up, and I clicked. When you're done, if you don't hit enter or complete a shape by taking it back to the beginning of something else, you just have to press escape. So now it's created those lines. I want them to be the same yellow as the yellow outside. So here's the little eyedropper. If I go over here and it highlights that, it turns it yellow. And I also want them to be the same width, so I'm going to turn them to 3 pixels. And there they are. Now, the interesting thing is, let's say I want to move this muffin thing around. Well, if I move it, those lines don't come with it. So how do I prevent that from happening? What you have to do is you have to do 2 things. The first thing you want to do is you want to choose the background layer. You want to right click on it and you want to lock it. That way you can't do anything to that layer. It shows up with a little lock over here, okay? Then you want to go back to this layer, and once you click on the object, it's going to take you exactly to that layer. But what you're going to do is, instead of just clicking on the object, you are going to click outside of the object and then pull up and grab everything. So now I can move it all around together. But if I unclick it and then I try to move it around, again, it's going to separate. So I have it all chosen, and I right click and I say lock object. So now let's see if I can get my moving tool here. Oh, I can't move it because it's locked. And I want to be able to move it, so I'm going to unlock it. But here's what I am going to do. I'm going to grab everything, and I'm going to right click, and I want to hit group. So I've got to make sure that I can do group. And these are locked over here, so I'm going to unlock them here and unlock them here. Grab it, group it, and watch what happens. If I unite and add, it turns it all brown. If I subtract, it takes out the brown color. If I intersect, it does that. And if I exclude, it does that. So I don't want to do any of those things. All I want to do is right click it, and I want to group it. So now I can, give me a second. Now I can move it around. If you're not careful and you just go all the way around the whole outside of the thing, it won't select this middle part. So you have to make sure that you kind of go over that. So I don't know if you saw how I kind of went halfway like that. You can see what you're selecting because it turns the lines, it gives them like a little blue line on them. So off of there, no blue line. On there, you can start to see that there's a blue line. If I take it all the way across, no more blue lines. I haven't selected anything. But if I go back, I've selected them all. That's kind of an important thing to remember. So now I have this, it's all put together, and I would like to duplicate it. So I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to hit duplicate, and there it is. And then I would like to duplicate that one more time. And so I'm going to hit right click and duplicate. But this time oh, goodness gracious. This time I want it to be smaller. So I'm going to select it all, hold down the shift key, and pull down so that it stays in proportion. And then there's a little one. And then I'm going to right click that and duplicate that. And now I have 2 muffin tins. One, actually I want this one in front. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, how do you move it in front, Mrs. Kruger? This is how you do it. You click on this object and see these ones up here? That's send to pack, send to front. So I click send to front and it brings it to the front. And it's that simple to do. So now you need to go ahead and add in what we would consider the top of the muffin. You can freehand draw that with the pencil. it might be kind of rough. So what I like to do is I went and, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to click image. I'm going to click more shapes down here. And I noticed that there was like this little cloud shape here. So I clicked on that and then I brought that in and I sort of built myself what appeared to be like the top of a muffin, changing the color to, actually I'm going to use my eyedropper and I'm going to pick up the color in the bakery sign. And then I'm going to hit radial gradient. I got to click on it again, pick up the color. I don't want black in there though. So I'm going to change this dot from black to say like a red. So it's really pretty. Now what I can do is I can move these parts around and I can create kind of a light source, which is sort of fun too. I can also put a border around this. Right now there's no check mark next to the border, so there is no border, but I can put a border around it by clicking on it. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that border red and I'm going to make it a little bit wider. That does tend to flatten your image somewhat, but we are working with vector images anyway, so it's kind of fun to have it be a little bit more cartoony. Outside, it's on the outside of my object. Inside, it would be just on the inside of what I had drawn. Other than that, center, it's like right in between the two. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click it, duplicate it, move it over, put it on top of there, Shift key, make it a wee bit smaller, and I actually think I want to make this one a wee bit smaller too, since it's behind. And what do I have to do? I have to move this one behind. So it's going to say send it back, and it's just going to send it back one level. It won't send it a whole bunch. Then I'm going to go duplicate that again, and I'm going to shrink it down a whole bunch. Shift key, shrink it down, bring it over here, and it's too tiny. So Shift key, bring it up a little bit. Now, you notice when I do that, how the border looks way too fat on it. So that's when I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click it down so that it's like a 2-inch border. And you notice how or 2 pixel, pardon me, not inch, 2 pixel, maybe even 1 pixel. You notice how down here, the border at 3 pixels is just too thick. So I'm going to bring it down. I don't understand why it doesn't scale down the border at the same time as it scales down the shape. So again, scale down the border as well. So to 1 pixel, going to go ahead and hit duplicate and then put that on top of here. And I'm going to hit my Shift key, pull it down, and I'm going to say send it back. So now I've got my 2 muffins here, 2 muffins in the front, got my bakery. The last thing that we need to put in here is the little chef's hat. And the chef's hat I drew by creating 2 shapes. So I'm going to do it down here in the corner, and I'm going to use my pencil. No, I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to click. And when I click, I'm going to click again. And then when you click again, don't let go of the mouse and go like that, and you're going to get a curvy line. Now, if I come up here like this, I can click again, and I can continue to make this curvy line. And I'm going to show you something pretty fun in a minute. So I'm going to go like that with this, and then click on this middle dot, and I can lift it and bring it down. But if I click on the middle dot and I grab one of the ends, look at how I can change that. Now, I'm not necessarily happy with this. So what I think I'm going to do is I am going to create with the pencil. So I'm just going to go over here to this layer. I'm going to select it, and notice I can keep putting dots on here, and so I could continue to move stuff around if I wanted to and try to make it look like a chef hat, because it's allowing me to put points onto the design. But I honestly feel like I would just be better off working with, if you have to, you can hit the delete button. You just come over here, right click it, and you hit delete. Better off using the pencil. So I'm going to get the pencil tool, and I'm going to draw what would appear to be like the top of a chef's hat. So it's going to be a little bit scary, but it is what it is. And I'm going to bring it over here and finish it off. Now it has no color on the inside. I want it to have white. So I'm going to pick up the color right over there, and the border, I want it to be black. So it's going to look like that. But now I also want to have the bottom part of the chef's hat, the square part. So come over here, click on the square, and draw down a square shape that will become part of your hat. It does not have a black border yet, but I want to do something to it first before I do anything else. So that shape's selected. Holding down my shift key, I'm going to select the other shape. Now I've selected both shapes. So what can I do? I can unite them, I can subtract, I can intersect, and I can exclude. So I'm going to unite them. And now they have a black border all the way around them. And if I need to change the size of this or the shape of this, I can just move it around like that and change it. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, grab it, put it up here. I feel like it's still too big, so I'll take it down even a little bit more. And I think it would look a lot cuter if it was a little skewed. So when I get the curved line up there, I can turn it, and I have done that. Last thing I want you to do is I want you to take the text tool, and down on the bottom, just click and say created by, and then type your name. Now you have to export this and save it. If you save it as an SVG, you will not be able to upload it to Seesaw. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go up here to export, and you're going to want to come over here and pick JPEG. And then you can put that all way up to 100% if you want to. And it's going to give you a URL, which it'll give you a website that you can save, and it'll take you right back here. But I want to download it. So you can choose to download it to your downloads on your computer. I don't know if you have a download spot on your Chromebook, but if you have your flash drive plugged in, you can choose your flash drive and download it to that. Give it a name, call it The Bakery Practice, and hit save. And then I close that out. And I can come over here and I can go new file, and I'm ready to start on my snowman. So, but first I want to show you how to upload to Seesaw. So I'm going to click over here onto Seesaw. I'm going to go to Seesaw. You should be taken directly into your class. I might be taken into a different class, digital design. And I am going to add my things. So post student work. I'm going to hit upload, and you can drag and drop, or you can select from your computer. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to open that, put it in there, hit the check mark, and then click the three little dots. Nope, don't click the three little dots. I'm going to click the little quote symbol down in the corner, and you can either add a voice caption or you can add your written caption. Here is the example for project 1 for this week. I found it easier to do as I went along. However, I learned Illustrator first, and I miss the extra tools like paint brushes that you can paint things with. So we actually will go back and forth between Pixlr and this program so that we can do some painting as well. Now I'm going to click my check, and I'm just going to put it into sample student. I'm going to click my check, and I am going to look for the folder for it. Vectr snowman and bakery sign, and then I am going to click the check, and it will upload it. All right, there we go. So that is your first assignment, and I hope I did not make this tutorial too long, but it's the best I can do for you.